Okay, in this lesson we're going to look at how we can have a recurring motif or sort of slide presentational style running throughout our digital text, and we can look at the various ways of achieving that. Okay, the first thing I'm going to look at though is back to my old superhero Superman, and I've removed the background from the original image just in PowerPoint, and I did that so I can actually move him independently of the background and have him fly in like in the previous videos. And one of the problems with removing that background is then I did lose that, and so to find a replacement I found this picture of a sunset, but it doesn't really fit in too well because Superman's cartoon and all the text is set up to be sort of cartoon and comic book style, yet I have this realistic background. How can I go about fixing that? Well, I can add an artistic effect to that background. So just in the design ribbon I can go across to background styles and format background, or you could just right click on the background. Okay, and I have my image already in the scene, and I found this artistic effect that I can apply, and it's called cutout. And you can see once I apply that, it sort of mats out all the clouds and makes it look just like a cartoon. And I found that that looked really good, and that matched in with my Superman, and I ended up using that in the title creation lesson beforehand. So artistic effects, there is a range of different things you can apply to it, and you can achieve so many different looks, whether it be painted or cartoon or like even different paint looks or scribble. You can really change the image using those artistic effects. Okay. As far as having a recurring idea or theme running throughout your slide goes, you're probably going to be looking at the background, which is going to occupy pretty much most of the slide. Okay, again, under the design ribbon, we have all of these slide design templates. Now, many of these are corporate, but some of these you might like the look of, and you might want to use one of these to run throughout your presentation. Okay, so there are a fair few here, and if you find one that you really like, say, for example, this one matches in with what you're presenting, then you can use that, and that is going to change a little bit from your title slide to the rest of your slides. However, after a while, this same background is going to get fairly boring, and even if you break it up with one or two pictures, it's really not original, and it doesn't look like you've put a lot of thought or effort into it. Okay? So one thing you can do, even if you don't have a whole variety of background images, let's just say you have the one background image and you want to use that and you want to create some variety over your slides. Okay? How do we do that? Well, I have this double page here. It's sort of, this background is taken out of an old book, and at the moment it's brilliant and it's vibrant. Okay? And if I go to my next slide, I sort of have the exact same page, but now it's so dull and fading, and I've changed my fonts to match that. Okay, and finally I have it's completely old and broken, and you may recognize that brushed font from before, and I've changed my fonts for each of these to reflect how my background's changing, and in a more complex example, of course, how your text is changing itself. So just using the same image, how have I achieved this? Well, just selecting the image, or even if it's set as a background through background styles, but this is just all artistic effects and color correction. So for the first two photos I don't have any artistic effects applied. However, for the first one I have fairly largely increased the vibrance and recolored it so it highlights all of those warm colors. Okay, and that's just through here, and you can see when I mouse over this I get all these different looks I can preview. For the second one, again, just selected my image, and under the color correction I've chosen a preset which is a sepia, and I've washed it out, and again with the color you can dull this and change it however you like, or change the brightness and contrast, and there's a lot of error there, or there's a lot of room rather I should say, to change the look of your slide. And then finally my last slide is not just a color correction by itself. I've actually applied a brush stroke artistic effect. So that's what the base image looks like, and then I've applied this brush stroke to it, which makes it look really old and really dark around these corners, and I've changed my font to match accordingly. Okay? So sometimes we don't always have the luxury of multiple images. By all means, if you have multiple images which reflect exactly what you're trying to say, then use those. But if you don't have as many and you only have one or even a few, then you can definitely achieve some really different looks. And when someone views this and they can tell it's the same image but there's been changes to it, it really speaks volumes about how much effort you've put into setting up this slide to show how it looks. And by doing this, we've also kept our same theme rather, running through our whole presentation here, with this old book image. Which could have reflected a variety of different things depending on the actual content of your digital text. Okay, in one of the final lessons of this video series, we're going to look at how we can set up our slideshow so it's completely automated, so when we play it in front of an audience, it displays itself exactly the way we intend it to be shown. Okay, I'll see you then.